advice that I would give, if you're starting a new business, talk to someone who started a new business recently so they can give you all the tips on what to do. The biggest struggle is before the doors are open. Just give everything to the business because you have to. You have everybody's life in your hands almost, you know, like you have to pay your employees, you have to pay your bills, you have to pay the rent, you know, all of these things, and it's stressful. But that local community and that local connection, we still need that people to people human interaction, hugging people. You know, as a business, people look on Google. Like Google reviews are super important. So plug, like leave me a Google review. You know? But it's like
shameless plug.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to another episode of the Transform podcast. I couldn't be more excited to be here today. I'm in Richie Orthodontic Studio with Alyssa Ricci. Super pumped to be here. We're going to have a great conversation. But I wanted to remind you before we start, if you're looking for a podcast that talks about ways to improve your health, wealth, and relationships, you've come to the right place. Please subscribe. Alyssa, so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me in your business. This looks phenomenal. It's so pretty.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about you so that the audience could get to know you?
Yeah, so a little bit about me. Well, my name is Dr. Alyssa Ricci. I'm a board certified orthodontist here in throughout Florida. And I wanted to be an orthodontist since I was 13 years old. Wow. So my orthodontist was Dr. Marchetto out in Weston. He's retired now, but he was amazing and really inspired me to pursue this. My mom was a dental hygienist, so she was in the dental field. And so she was another one that inspired me because I was at her office a lot growing up, filing papers and, you know, taking a nap in one of the dental chairs. So, you know, my parents are actually Cuban immigrants. And so they came when they were really young and they wanted to give, you know, my sister and I a better life. And so my whole life was just about studying and pursuing my dreams. And my parents really supported that and did everything possible to make sure that we can achieve that goal that we had set before us. So, you know, my dad didn't let me have a job. Some people do things a little differently, but he just wanted me to study. He said, studying is your job.
Full focus.
Yes, exactly. And when I went to college even, he gave me a little stipend for food because he's like, I still don't want you to have a job. I want you to focus. I want you to study. And so he sacrificed a lot. My mom and dad, you know, put us in the best school that they could. They did everything. And me and my sister, we really wanted to make them proud. That was always a big part of kind of what motivated us and inspired us. And so, yeah, I mean, when I graduated from orthodontics, I went to University of Florida for undergrad. So very go cool. Gators.
Yeah, go Gators.
Got any Gators? If we don't, go Gators. But then I actually went to Virginia in Richmond for dental and ortho. I really loved the orthodontic program there. It's a very competitive program. It's a very clinical program and sought after. So I really wanted to go there. And so I like cried of happiness when I got in. And I also loved Richmond. I loved the seasons. And after that, I actually settled down in North Carolina. So I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina for about 3 years, practicing at an amazing office up there with a great mentor, Dr. Gladwell. And he's an amazing orthodontist, went to my same residency. And he's was the #2 Invisalign provider in the country at the time. So I learned a lot from him, gained a lot of business experience as well. He was a great businessman. You know, maybe we'll fly you out to North Carolina and have you talk to him as well.
We should.
Yes. So yeah, and then finally I had my kids. I have 2 daughters. One is about to be 4 and one is 1.5. And I moved back home to Florida because I understood why people move back home.
This is a great place.
Being a working mom it was a big thing. We definitely can talk more about that because that's its own thing. And then, I came back here and I decided that I wanted to start my own business.
Beautiful. You gave me a lot of meat there. So let's unpack. Let's reel it back. By the way, that's an incredible story and a lot of success and inspiration on there. So I definitely want to unpack. You mentioned that you had this gentleman that inspired you to become an orthodontist. So I want you to tell me, how did they inspire you? What was the trigger point that told you in your mind, oh, this is what I want to do and what I want to be?
Yeah, so well, first of all, my teeth were really messed up. Okay, so when I was growing up, I had my canines kind of coming in up here, and I was very self-conscious. I was always very confident in my own skin, and I thank my parents for that. But it was still a big thing for me. So the confidence that I received from a transformed smile was the biggest impact. But obviously he was a huge part of that. He was an amazing orthodontist, but also an amazing person. And I always loved, like I was a nerd. So I loved science, I loved math, but I hated needles. So like if I would go to the pediatrician and they had to give me a shot, I was like crying in the corner. Like I was one of those kids.
I would cry too.
Okay.
I still cry, by the way.
Yeah, honestly, like when they take blood out, I'm like breathing into a bag of alcohol and you don't want to see me when I give birth. So basically, I knew I loved science. So I really was interested in being like a scientist, a doctor, but I'm like, what kind of doctor? And so I found a lot of comfort in the mouth. Part of my orthodontic treatment, I actually got referred to take out 2 baby teeth. And I was so scared because you do actually need a little shot for that. But when I got that done, it didn't hurt. Like I felt so comfortable. I'm like, wow, maybe the mouth is like my comfort zone. Wow. And I'm a very honest person. So I never wanted to lie to my patients and be like, this isn't gonna hurt when it is. So I wanted to feel fully confident that what I was doing, I was always gonna be able to fully treat patients in a way that they were like family. I can be fully honest with them. And that's how I felt about the mouth and orthodontics and transforming smiles. So it gave me that nerdy side of, you know, being like a scientist, because you have to learn a lot of physics and the force systems and the mechanics of moving teeth, but it also allows you to be creative and artistic and also get to really invest in relationships with people. And I'm a really big people person. So that personal side of thing was a huge thing for me. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's inspiring story, by the way. Then you told me about your family and how they supported you and how that big of an impact that was, of course. So why don't you tell me more about, you know, some of the stuff that your parents maybe had to do to put you through school. I don't know what business they had or even if they had a business. So tell me about some of the struggles on there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try not to cry.
Yeah.
But my dad, he used to be in the car business. And for those of you who know, the car business is very grueling. Yeah. So 70 hours a week working to try to support us and our family when we were young. The cool part is he brought home like a new test car every now and then, like a little Ford Ranger or something, let us test it out for a few days. But he worked a lot. My mom was a dental hygienist. She actually was, you know, my mom and dad got married, you know, young and had me when she was in hygiene school.
Okay.
And she had to go right back to school like a few days after she had me.
Wow.
And so she became a dental hygienist, and she's very similar. My family's all very similar. We have like very strong personalities, very big people person. So she was like the main person at that dental office. Like she was the one that kept patients coming in. Like the dentist that she worked for loved her because she had such a great relationship with patients that they wanted to be there.
Like
and that helped him in his business.
Yeah.
And so, you know, they worked a lot, but they were always at everything. My dad did a career change. He's actually a police officer.
Wow.
Because of the fact that he was working so much and is such a family person. There was like that balance of being able to support us. So, you know, like everything, it's what you value in life. They just made certain changes. They might have driven a less expensive car or had a less expensive house, or, you know, my dad knew how to value $1. Like he would go to the grocery store and he taught me, you know, like I look, what's the sale this week? What's that? Because we didn't take money for granted, right? And so even to this day, like that's a big part of what I bring into my own business. Like everybody here knows, like I hate paying shipping fees. Like if there's like a minimum and it's $30, I want to know, because if I'm about to spend 20, let's spend the 30 and get the free shipping, you know? And my dad taught me a lot of that. And so my parents sacrificed so that we could go to that private school. They lived in a certain area. We went to a Christian school. That was another big thing and a super important thing to me is my faith. And so when I did graduate valedictorian in 6th grade and my parents saw that I needed to be more challenged, I actually went to St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale for high school just so that I can be more challenged. But a big sacrifice with that is it was 45 minutes away from where we lived. Wow. So they would drive me 45 minutes, and as soon as I turned 16, I got my license so that I can drive myself 45 minutes on 595 every single day and somehow make it to school on time. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of just, my dad did a lot with a little, and I still to this day look back, because now the world we're living in, I'm like, how did he do it? I don't even know. He is just, you know, he valued that $1 and he knew how to stretch it, and he knew how to make right decisions and not let us even know what was happening, I feel like, you know.
Oh, that's a strong man. That's a strong man when they get to do that. And this was a selfish question, because I'm a father myself. Like, wait until you meet my daughter. Like, I see my daughter becoming somewhat like you in the future. Very outspoken, very intoxicating personality, which is great. And I wanted to ask you about, how can I become a better dad? And I think I could relate to a lot of the stuff that your dad did, working in the shadows and putting in the work. So thank you for sharing that personal story. Then you mentioned that you had to like move around the whole United States, right? Virginia, then North Carolina, then down to Florida. Tell me how that felt, moving. It's one of those decisions that most people like hate and feel very uncomfortable with. So how did that play out a part in your life and your development as a professional?
Well, that's a great question, because one of my biggest pieces of advice to people is get out of your comfort zone, okay? I mean, you can't grow if you don't get out of your comfort zone. And I am someone that really believes in that to an extreme. Especially in South Florida, there's a lot of families, a lot of people that, I don't want to say we settle, but we kind of do. Yeah. And so I do a lot of, shadowing opportunities, career fairs, college fairs, internship opportunities. And one of the big pieces of advice that I tell, all of the students is leave if you can for a little bit.
Get out of the nest.
Parents don't want you to, but trust me, it'll be the best thing that ever happened to you if you can. Not everybody has that opportunity. My dad was very big on this, and I know you want to do a ton of school. So for undergrad, stay at UF. You already have the Bright Future Scholarship and all that stuff. You don't want to be in so much debt, which is true. You have to be conscious about that because a lot of these schools nowadays are very, very expensive. I knew I was going to want to go to dental and ortho. That's more expense. So what I did is I stayed at UF, which I loved, for undergrad, but then I left for dental school. So, once you have kids, you're going to move back home. So, so leave while you can, because you experience life in a different way. You learn a certain type of independence, and you grow in ways that, I would never change it for the world. I mean, for example, I had a horse. Okay. One of my biggest dreams, one of my hobbies is horses. I've been riding since I was really young. And I thought, okay, once I have enough money and I settle down, I'm going to have a horse and in my backyard, and it's going to be great. And that wasn't what happened. I actually had my horse in dental school, which was very therapeutic for me. But it was one of those things that, like, you think when you're young, like what your plan is, but embrace those changes as they come. Because having my horse at that time, now I don't have as much time to ride. I was pregnant. I couldn't ride when I was pregnant. I had all these things. And so, live your life. And not that you don't get to live it when you have kids, but you're living a different life when you have kids. You're living a different life when you're adulting. Yeah. School is actually easy. They say, how did you do like 10 years of school? And I'm like, honestly, it was easier than adult life. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's very cool. Listen, a horse? How did that happen? I have to ask.
Yeah, so basically I was riding because, I did try to have a hobby and not be like a full nerd, right? And I was an athlete in high school, so I ran track and everything, but I did a lot of those sports that you can't really do. Like people who play like tennis and golf, you could do that like your whole life, but you don't go like run hurdles after you're out of high, And so horses were always my passion, so I started riding, and this off the racetrack chestnut is like reddish color horse. So she was a mare, AKA a girl. Talk about feisty personality. So they're like the redheads of the horse world, and she was crazy. So she showed up, she was not trained. She used to be a racehorse, and I just saw her and I was like, she's mine.
She's mine.
And my trainer who had just gotten her, she's like, well, I'll sell her to you for $500.
What?
And I was like, little did I know. Okay.
The issues to come.
The issue is exactly maintaining the horse. Right. The horse world is very expensive. My husband is probably happy that we're currently out of the horse world currently. My horse is still in North Carolina. She's being taken care of at the barn up there right now. But but it was the best thing I ever did. I mean, I trained her from scratch, taught her to jump, we got to do all these fun things, and it really gave me that life balance that I needed at the time. And I just went to visit her, 2 weekends ago, and she's still kind of snuggled up on me and stuff. So,
spicy.
Animals, like people are dog people, cat people. I'm a horse person. So, it's huge. So hopefully my kids will love horses too. The little one, I think, will be the one that loves the horses. So we'll see. But yeah.
Very cool. You know what I'm loving? All these layers of complexity that you've shared with me. Accomplished scholar, horse lover, business owner. And that's where I think it's the perfect segue to go into the business route. So you tell me now you moved to South Carolina, right? Or North Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina, you are working at a practice.
Yes.
Are you working there as an employee? Are you a partner? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. So I was an associate. So when I got out of residency, I thought I was going to buy a practice in Virginia. I was already in talks with them. It was horse country of Virginia, Warrenton, Virginia. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I know I want to own now. God had other plans, and it was the best decision I ever made to not do that. Okay. So I went to work at Gladwell Orthodontics in Raleigh, North Carolina. Plug for them; they're amazing. But I learned so much in such a short period of time. So instead of learning the hard way, I got to learn things that people don't really get to learn. And I will never take that for granted. So Dr. Gladwell, he had his practice at the time. I think it was like 10 to 12 years before I got there. And he had figured it out. He went to UNC and was a business major. So he wasn't just a great orthodontist, he was a businessman. And so I got to learn, in my opinion, from one of the best. And as you know, mentors are so important.
Critical.
You need mentors in life. So I aspire to be that for other people, which is why I'm so big into education. But at the same time, it's like he was that for me in such a strong way. I learned so much from him. You also just build so many connections, because he had so many connections and he was so generous and so giving. That's how I got to know all the people at Invisalign knew me, and when I moved down here, that was a huge help for me to kind of already know all of those people. And but yeah, he taught me so much, and I was there for 3 years.
Wow.
I actually was the first person that he did I offer partnership to, and I was going to partner into that practice. That was the plan. Wow. I had built a house up there, our dream home, and the whole thing. But again, God had other plans. We had other plans. I cried when we decided to move, but I knew it was the right call. But I knew if I was going to move back home, with the experience that I had there, I knew I was ready to start it on my own. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to impact the community the way that I knew I could now. And I had the tools I needed.
I like it. And that leads me to 2 questions. Question number 1, what was the trigger point to say, hey, now I got to go back home? I want to know why you decided to come back. And 2, why did you decide that now was the right time to go and open your own business?
Yeah. So the trigger point was becoming a mom.
Okay.
So they say motherhood changes you. You don't know. And I know people hate to hear that, but you don't know until you become a mom. You don't know until you become a dad. I mean, I know that you can relate to that. There's
100%.
just no way to fully understand. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Let's get real and raw here because, people don't talk about it enough. It was an identity crisis for me. I always wanted to be a mom, but I also always wanted to be an orthodontist.
Right.
And so learning how to balance that to this day, and I'm gonna try not to cry, is the hardest thing.
It is.
Because you want to be exceptional, and I always strive for excellence. But to be excellent at both, it's really hard.
Really, really hard.
And so my mom, I'm thankful she was a working mom. She wasn't a stay-at-home mom. And that really inspired me because my mom was still at everything. She was at every cheer competition, every track meet. She somehow figured it out. She was still the mom that was super involved at the school. I don't know how she did it, but that was a huge inspiration for me that you can do it, but you need a village.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that's what inspired me. I'm like, if I want to still be an orthodontist, which is what I worked my whole life to be, and I want my kids to see that in me, because that's a huge part. My patients are also like my kids in a way. They're this is more than work to me, right? This is not something that I just do to make money. This is, and not a lot of people could say that, and I won't take that for granted. This is a passion of mine for real. If not, I would just go on vacation and stay with the kids. No, But my patients are like my extended family, and so I could not, in my opinion, abandon them. So I had to learn how to navigate this new world of motherhood and being an orthodontist, and then now being a business owner. And so what made me move home was my kids. I did feel like all of our families down here, every single one besides me. And you become almost less selfish in a way. It just becomes, your life does become about your kids. And it's I knew what was best for them was to have family around them. And not everybody can say that. My in-laws and my parents, they travel together.
Wow.
They're like BFFs. Not everybody has that either, you know?
Right.
And so I'm keeping them from that. That's how I started to feel. And it was the best decision ever. Even the appreciation you have for your own mom when you become a mom, it's just insane. It changes. And you get to this age in life that you also become a mom to not only your kids, but now you're starting to have that almost I don't want to say parent role to your parents, but you kind of reach that medium where your parents are getting older. my mom has Parkinson's disease, and she got diagnosed really young. Most people wouldn't know, but
I'm sorry to hear.
She was getting on a flight to go to North Carolina
to go see
me. All of these sacrifices she was making, and mind you, she loves North Carolina, so she still was like, I want to still be in North Carolina. But there's realities like my parents are getting older, and I don't want to believe that. They're amazing, and you wouldn't even know they look super young and the whole thing. But I wanted to support them and just be home, and so I am super glad that I moved back. I mean, I love North Carolina, but home is where your family is.
I could totally agree to that.
And so, becoming a mom is what made me move back.
I know. Listen, I know.
And right when I moved back, I found out I was pregnant with my second, so good timing. Because with two, there's no
couldn't
way.
have worked out better. Yeah. What better village than your family, right?
Yeah, there's none other.
Family. You need family, guys. Like I encourage everybody.
And don't take your family for granted.
Don't take them for granted. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Because time is fleeing for all of us, right? And one day you're not going to be able to make that call anymore. And trust me, you'll regret it. So love your people. Love them well.
Yeah. I mean, my father-in-law was the one that built all the carpentry in this office. He's a carpenter.
Wow.
So all of this at the office he did, like this woodwork here, all the cabinets, everything. So I mean, it's like that village is not only with my kids, but it came into the business.
Yeah.
This practice was created, I always say, by families for families.
Wow.
Like my in-laws did so much, like my parents did so much. They were here cleaning and building all these things and and so yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing. I
feel the love packed into this walls. And that's like the Cuban dad, fixing things. He had to do it. That's part of being a Cuban dad. Okay.
Well, he's actually Argentinian.
He's Argentinian.
Yeah.
So your mom is the Cuban one.
My mom and dad are Cuban.
Okay.
My in-laws are Argentinian. So we got a nice, good mix.
Okay.
We've got the crazy and the calm. So that's why they vacation together.
Right. They balance each other out.
out.
Love it. So then tell me about, this is like my favorite segment in the podcast, simply because it's like we here now going to the practical, and we could share with the people out there how can they do it and put it into practice. So why don't you tell me more about, now you're down here, you decided to open the studio. What are some of the challenges? Yeah. What led you to say, you know what, I want to do my own thing instead of working for someone else? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So definitely I am someone who always have, like I said before, I strive for excellence in everything I do, but I also care a lot about ethics, integrity, and truly caring about others and empathizing with people. And so I wanted to create a practice where I can treat people the way that I feel that they deserve to be treated. And whether that means just valuing their time. So as you guys know, South Florida, it's a little bit like the Wild Wild West. And no shade to all of South Florida, but you're waiting an hour when you go. Like when I moved down and tried to find a pediatrician, I had to go to like 4 different offices because I was working and I was trying to take my daughter to the doctor and I was waiting an hour and then they still weren't seeing me. And it's crazy. It's very jam-packed and saturated down here. I get it. And so everybody's doing their best, but it's like for me, that wasn't enough. Like I wanted to exceed the standard of care. Yeah. I wanted to exceed the level of customer service that people had gotten used to. People are just happily sitting for an hour. Like this is just what's expected now.
It's like,
and to me, that's just mind blowing. Like that should not be the expectation that we have. We have worked too hard and we are too, like I value people's time too much. Yeah. And so again, we're not perfect, but that's a big thing for me. I'm like, I want a more boutique concierge-like practice where I can truly take the time to care about people. I don't know how to be in and out of a consultation. Like I like to talk, I like to educate. So I needed to set the stage and make a culture that I can do that in, right? And so that was a big reason I started this practice, is because I wanted to do it the way I felt people deserved that service, that professionalism, that patient-doctor interaction. I mean, unfortunately nowadays, like orthodontists and dentistry and stuff, it's almost we've become like car salesmen, to be honest. It's like, oh, where do I get the best deal? And you can get this for this. And it's like, we're not healthcare anymore. But this is healthcare. I mean, we went to school 10, 11, 12 years. Some people are in a lot of debt, a lot of this, and it's not all about money, but it's just like, I learned to value in dental school. I always wanted to give everything for free. And so that, I was like, I felt bad because I came from nothing. Right. But you start to value things, right?
Yeah.
It's like there are costs of running a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I value that now more in other businesses. It's like becoming a business owner, it's almost like becoming a parent.
Yes.
You don't know until you're in it.
Right.
What it truly entails, the work, the fact that your brain never shuts off,
Yeah.
the stress, you know? And so for people to kind of sometimes, and again, I get it. Like I haggle too. You know, you always want the best deal.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I wanted price integrity.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes you might think like, okay, someone's putting out there like $1,000 off this, but really they're just raising the price before they give you that $1,000 off. That's just the sad reality of it. So here it's all about price integrity. Our prices are very individualized. It's based on what, and I'm very open about it. When I submit an Invisalign case, it costs like $2,000 just to order the Invisalign. Mm-hmm. That's not to pay my employees. That's not to do everything else. And so, you know, when we are here, it's like when whoever walks through the door, it's going to be like based on your treatment, what you need, what this healthcare service is going to cost. We do in-house financing at 0 interest to make it affordable. We do very low down payments.
Wow.
We do complimentary benefits check of your insurance. We do third-party financing. And for the people who truly can't find a way to afford it, you know, I have things that I do, for example, every October. It's anti-bullying month. I'm very big into anti-bullying. And I'll give away a pro bono case. I have people nominate people who feel like, you know,
Amazing.
They can't afford treatment, but they're being bullied for their smile, and I want to transform that case. And so I'll do it for free.
Wow.
So, you know, and so there's things that I do to balance it out. We give back a lot to the community, but we also want to treat this as healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, when I go to the doctor and I need an x-ray, I'm not like, well, can I get the x-ray for $20 instead of, you know, 50? Like, you don't do that, but people do that now in our industry. And to be honest, we've done it to ourselves. Unfortunately, it's a sad reality. So I wanted to go backwards almost a little bit, like, and kind of get back to the root of what we do, but do it in a more, you know, high-tech setting, right? Like I care about the technology, I care about the cleanliness, I care about infection control. I'm a germaphobe. Even before COVID, I was a germaphobe. So, you know, the experience you get here, in my opinion, is like no other. And so I want people to just feel loved.
Wow, that was perfect. You know, no comments to be out on there. I guess 2 comments. In South Florida, if you don't know, they'll give you an appointment for 2 p.m., but they just don't tell you what day, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh.
You're here like 2 hours later and you haven't been seen. And the second one is that was really relatable in a lot of ways, because I'm in the banking industry, which is very different from healthcare, but we still face the very same challenges, right?
Yeah.
If somebody has a little better pricing or a little bit or of a discount, like if you don't have a good relationship with people and if you don't treat them and serve them well, they'll just revert back to like pricing, right?
Yep.
So leading with value, giving them a superb experience, you know, having the ability to be an advisor, educate them. That value add is like what will bring people through the door. So I totally relate to that too.
Yeah.
Tell me about the struggles of becoming a business owner. You told me about being a mom, you know, moving all around, but tell me, now you're in business. Now the doors are open.
Yeah.
How do you get people in here? Like, tell me about that.
Well, rewind. The biggest struggle is before the doors are open. So if you're opening up a business, and especially in Doral or anywhere, okay, there's a lot of permits. There's a lot of things that, again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that go into opening the door.
Yes.
That it took a year. It was supposed to take 4 months. Okay. And so that itself is a struggle, because you take out a loan, you know, and eventually you have to start paying the loan, right? If you rent a space, you eventually have to start paying rent.
Yeah.
And so you have to plan, you have to talk to people, you have to have advisors. And even when you do all of that and have all your eggs in a basket, things are still not going to go perfectly. Thankfully, I'm a realist and I knew. But I mean, for example, Sally, my treatment coordinator and my office manager, she moved from North Carolina. So we were trying to time her move from North Carolina, her giving her, you know, notice, all these things, and getting an apartment here and paying rent. And it was hard to time, because at one point we had to delay it a little bit, but then I was like, I can't delay her anymore. Right. So it all worked out, because she came a few months before we opened, and she was able to help with all that nitty gritty stuff and the permitting and the fire department and the this and the that. So advice that I would give, if you're starting a new business, talk to someone who started a new business recently, so they can give you all the tips on what to do. Because there's a lot of ins and outs that I wish I would have known. But meeting even with like in the mayor's office at the city hall and being like, I'm starting a new business. What do I need to do? Just talking to people.
Shout out to Christy. She's amazing.
Yes, she is. And that's one of the things I love about Doral. It's such a great community. Like, the councilman came to my grand opening. Christy, the Mayor Fraga, she came to my 1-year anniversary. I mean, it's such a great community here.
Yes, it is.
And that's a huge thing. They have a lot of support, so use it. The other thing, for example, is even like Google. When you start to get Google reviews, if you guys don't know this, sometimes Google does not post your reviews and you don't know that they're not posting them. They flag a lot of reviews. And the only reason I found this out is because at the beginning, I obviously had a lot of patients that were also family or friends. So they would post a review and they would see on their end that the review was posted, but I would be like, hey, why didn't you post the review yet? And they're like, I did, look, let me screenshot it. So I would screenshot these reviews and put in a ticket with Google, send them to Google, and all of a sudden there was like 10 reviews that weren't posted.
Wow.
Now this didn't just happen when I opened my business, this happened again recently. I started to notice a bunch of people were leaving reviews, but the number didn't seem to be going up as much as it should have. And I was like, and as you know, as a business, people look on Google. Like Google reviews are super important. So like, leave me a Google review. But it's like, it's
shameless plug.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, they were not posting and I'm like, what's happening? So again, I reached out to Google and I was like, listen, I know we have more Google reviews. Can you guys please do a deep dive as to what's happening here? There was all of a sudden the next day I had 7 new Google reviews that were posted and some were from a month ago, 2 months ago. So put in a ticket to Google and make sure you don't have any Google reviews that haven't posted because that's also super helpful. Little tip. But other struggles, finding good people. Finding good people, retaining good people. Another thing in Florida, the cost of living is high, but the pay doesn't always
catch up with.
Exactly. Which is a huge struggle because again, like we're all experiencing that. But they want to find that value. Just make that office culture amazing. Like that people love being here. Like my staff is like my extended family as well. Like when I come to work, I'm excited. They know that I can be really hard on them because again, when we're trying to create an environment for you guys and for the patients, we want it to be exceptional. So I hold all my staff to a really high level and they know that. They take constructive criticism extremely well, but I want them to hold me to that same level. We're all human, we all make mistakes, we have to show grace, but I feel like every one of my staff members has endless potential and I want them to never settle and can keep growing.
Beautiful.
I always tell people here, there's no cap to me. Like as we grow, as you all grow, right? And so that's a huge thing is finding good people and keeping good people. I hire a lot of times based on personality more than anything, work ethic.
I agree.
Not always experience. My first clinical assistant, she didn't even have experience in the dental world or the ortho world, but I saw something in her.
Values over skill.
Exactly. And now it's like how far she has come. No one would ever know that she didn't have that dental experience. Okay. But she had that drive, that work ethic, and that motivation. And so that's something that is I think a big challenge for business owners is finding good people and giving them the room to be great is what I would say. But just also the work-life balance is a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
As business owners, like we want to give everything to the business because you have to. You have everybody's life in your hands almost, like you have to pay your employees, you have to pay your bills, you have to pay the rent, all of these things, and it's stressful.
It is stressful.
I never understood it again until you become a business owner and you're going to sleep at night and a billion things are in your head and you can't sleep.
How do I sleep now?
Did I forget to do that? Did I remember to do this? Did I tell her to do this? I mean, even when you were here today, I was like, remind me to do this at 11:30 when he's done, because it's like I remembered, and I already forgot what that was. Thank God I set a reminder. So I think that's a huge thing is finding that work-life balance. But one thing that I read recently that I really liked is that you have to learn how to turn it off. You have to, when I'm here, I need to be here and be 100% present here. And that's why I don't even sometimes go home for lunch anymore because I just need to be present, get my meetings done during lunch, do whatever I have to do. And that way when I go home, they know once I walk through the door, I'm like, I can't talk anymore. Like I'm through the door, I need to shut off. Now, of course, there's always emergencies and I get it. But I tell my husband the same thing. It's for anybody, not even a business owner. If you're a manager, like my husband is a store manager at Target in Coral Gables. He's been working for Target for 13 years, go Target. But it's like, he had to learn that too. You have to learn to just like, The world is going to keep spinning. It's going to be okay. And my patients understand that too. I mean, I'll come in on the weekend for an emergency if there's an emergency. Like I have to, right? I'm a doctor. Like if there's an emergency, I have to come in. But they also understand sometimes that when it's not an emergency, we're going to see you on Monday.
Yeah,
you know?
You're a human
and so,
too.
Exactly. So that's a big thing, is finding that balance and feeling okay with that balance and just giving your 100% when you can. That's also why I love going to Disney World. Because when I'm in Disney World, that's its own stressful situation, but it's like I get to focus on being in Disney World and I don't have time to focus on anything else, which is why my husband's like, why are you obsessed? Because I'm like, when I go to Disney World, I actually disconnect because I'm just in Disney World. So like, that's why I just love going to Disney World.
Get away.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. Listen, great, phenomenal tips. Phenomenal tips. I think a lot of people out there will definitely relate to that because it's real, right? People connect to real. People see the struggle, right? Because they go through it every single day. So I think that's super actionable. Remember, check your SEO, make sure Google's posting your reviews. I don't know if you know this, but as a matter of fact, if you search orthodontics near me, whoever has the most reviews usually shows up at the top of the list.
Yeah, Google really favorites reviews over everything right now. Reviews are huge. Yeah.
Love it. So let's go into how we met. You and I met at a community event here in the phenomenal city of Doral. So I wanted to ask you about relationships because like the only reason we're here today is because we met. We met on there. You were super awesome in your presentation about mindset and like going to school and doing all these great things and finding mentorship and all that stuff. And we got the opportunity to meet. So tell me, what impact has relationships had in you, in your business? Tell me about that.
Listen, relationships are everything. They're everything. Networking is everything. I mean, who you know and when you truly care about people, that in my opinion, that's like what this world is about.
Yes.
You know, it's like literally about connection. That's why that's one of our core values is connection. One of our other core values is education. One of our other core values is generosity. And that all surrounds against giving back, generosity, giving back to the community, education, giving back. I mean, my educators inspired me to want to educate others, to be that mentor for someone else. Actually, 2 people from that college fair have come to shadow at our office, you know? And so that's like a huge thing. It's crazy how that works out, right? Like you're just doing someone a favor or something like that and giving back, and then all of a sudden they become a patient, all of these things. But
reciprocity.
It's like when you do it for the right reason and you make those genuine connections, that's what really matters. I mean, I'm in a networking group. I do like a spear study club with the colleagues in Doral and the dentists and everything like that. So we can educate each other, but also just understand each other more and really build those relationships, because those are the people that I refer to dentists all the time. And I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to refer this patient to you. And so those connections are really, really a big deal. So people and connections are everything. I try to be very involved in the community because as a new business, that was a huge thing. I mean, nobody knew who I was. Like I could feel like I'm the best orthodontist in the world and no one knows that, right? And so you have to prove that to people. And part of that is by going out there and meeting people. And we've met so many amazing people. We do a lot of community events. Again, we do a lot when it comes to giving back with small businesses. So for example, the Glory Candle. So I met them at a Doral event. And they make handmade organic candles, and the proceeds of their candles, a portion of it goes to this school in Haiti. Shout out to the Glory Candle.
Shout out.
You know, one of like I ended up getting, you know, patients from that relationship. When I give my dentist gifts, I use their candles. I involve now one of the owners in one of my networking groups. I mean, the relationship that we have built just like from that one small business. Anytime I do some sort of giveaway or I always try to get my small business owners like, hey, do you want to donate like a necklace for your jewelry brand and stuff like that, because I want us small businesses to support each other. And people who have that same mindset as to giving back to the community and things like that, and partnering with people and building each other up and growing together. So that's like a huge part of what I do is networking, partnering with other small business owners, and then again, I never turn down someone who wants to shadow at the office, see the office, learn more, because if people had turned me down, I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Right.
And so though sometimes people see it as a nuisance, someone coming in here the whole day, you know, no, like this is like, we need to give back to those young people. Exactly. Because my orthodontist and those providers did that for me, and I wouldn't be where I am today without that. So, I mean, connection and we even saw each other at another event. I never came after that.
You met my wife.
My wife was amazing, and I'm obsessed with her. And so, yeah, it's a huge thing. You can't not connect with people. And in this day and age that we live in, we're all on our phones, we're all on technology, and it's like now, you know, you're in public transportation, you're on a bus somewhere, right? And you're all on the phone, right? We're all on the phone. And back in the day, like, you would just talk to people. You would be forced to talk to people. And I do really like getting back to that. Like when I'm out saying hi to someone, like looking up, and you know, again, I'm on my phone too. There are emergencies, you know, I get it, trust me. And my daughters now have to be the one to be like, get off your phone sometimes. And it's so sad, right? That we live in a different day and age where connection has become different. And it's not all bad, because I think that there's so much great connection that comes from being able to see people on social media that you haven't seen in 10 years, that live across the country. But that local community and that local connection, we still need that people to people, human interaction, hugging people. You know, after COVID, that became a big thing too. You know, in South Florida, we kiss people on the cheek. And it was like a huge thing, but it's like, it's important, you know? And so getting back to that, I encourage you today, when you're walking outside, just say hi to someone. When you're standing in line somewhere, just connect with someone. When you're on the airplane, just talk to the person next to you.
You don't know who you could impact.
You don't know. You don't know. And you don't know. One of my favorite quotes, actually, you just reminded me, is like, you never know, like, be kind always, because you don't know what that person's going through, right? You don't know what they've just been through. You don't know if they just had a family member pass away. You don't know what happened. So even when and that's how we are in business. When someone comes in here, someone's late, you know, are you late? Why are you late? It's like, hey, are you okay? They could have gotten into a car accident. You don't know, right? Like, God forbid. But it's like, you have to treat every person like you don't know what they've been through that day. We're not all going to have a perfect smile on our face. And we just have to be kind to people.
That giving mindset. That giving mindset. I always say it. I think I've said this in the podcast maybe 10 times. Life is a giver's game, right? The more you plant those seeds, there's going to come a time that the universe will just give you back all you planted, right? So you wanna continue doing that.
You reap what you sow. For sure.
Exactly. Tell me, what's the biggest misconception you found in dentistry and orthodontics? Like this thing that people believe out there that's completely wrong, and you want to just demystify today.
Yes, 100% right now. It's that two things. I'm gonna give two.
Give it.
One is that we have to wait for all adult teeth to be in to see the orthodontist.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, so that's not true, because a lot of times it's too late. The American Association of Orthodontics recommends that we see kids at the age of 7. And that is the biggest misconception and a big thing with education. Back in the day, we used to just wait, let nature take its course. But then all of the orthodontists were having to extract adult teeth a lot, extract 4 premolars. They had to do canine impaction surgeries to get certain teeth in. We can prevent these things. 30% of kids actually do need a phase 1 intervention typically to prevent something from getting worse. It's not because orthodontists are trying to be money hungry and treat your kids earlier. No, it's because we're trying to actually treat them like we would our own family, be conservative with the treatment, not have to take out permanent teeth, not have to do surgery in the future. You know, if your child has an underbite, that upper jaw, that growth modification, we typically do it at the age of 8 and 9. If I don't see your kid till the age of 12, 13, and they have an underbite and it's severe, we're talking about surgery, aka breaking the jaw and moving it. Right? And so get your kid in early. The consultation's free. You know, we do free consultations for exactly that, because we just want to educate you. At the end of the day, we're not going to force you to do anything you don't want to do, right? You're going to come in, you're going to be educated, and you're going to take what you learned, and make your own informed decision, right? Because I'm all about people being their own best advocate. You know yourself, but you need to be educated by a specialist as to what your child needs, and then you make the decision that's best for your family. So that's my number 1. My number 2 is that Invisalign is only for simple cases. Anywhere you get Invisalign's the same. I'm not a candidate for Invisalign because this person told me I'm not a candidate for Invisalign. Okay, so Invisalign is a tool. It's like a paintbrush. I always say this. So if Picasso was using a paintbrush and somebody else was using a paintbrush like you or me, and we were trying to paint the same painting, okay, it would not be the same because he's Picasso, right?
Yeah.
So, but the paintbrush is just a tool. Invisalign is just a tool just like braces. So if you go, and again, there's a lot of general dentists who do Invisalign, which is fine. When they're doing simpler cases and that they can manage, that's totally fine. But for an orthodontist who went to an extra 2 to 3 years of school to specialize in tooth movement specifically, and all we do is move teeth, you being a candidate for Invisalign is now going to be completely different, because an orthodontist that was trained to use Invisalign to move teeth is going to be able to get the same exact results with Invisalign that you would with braces. Not a lot of people have gone through the training and understand how to use this new tool, which is why my practice, we pride ourselves in using the latest and greatest technology. The technology advances for a reason. The pros of Invisalign, I do Invisalign in kids, okay? Because with kids, braces back in the day, it was really hard for them to brush. I'm way more worried that your child is going to have scars on their teeth from not brushing, okay, which can happen as little as 4 weeks of not brushing properly with braces. You can have permanent scars called white spot lesions on your teeth. With Invisalign, it's way cleaner. You take them out to brush, okay, you can take them out to eat. There's way less emergencies. It's way more comfortable, especially for our athletes. Our kids are better patients than our adults, by the way, okay? And so it's a great alternative to braces that people just don't believe. I mean, it happens to me all the time. I can go through my whole spiel and they'll still be like, but braces are faster, but braces are better, it's just such a big misconception. And it just depends on whose hands it in. Like Invisalign is one of my specialties. I've treated thousands of cases in Invisalign. And again, it actually costs me way more to treat your kid in Invisalign, but we don't charge any differently here. It's not more expensive. We charge the same because I want you to pick what's actually best. And if that's what's best, I don't want price or anything to hinder you choosing that. So if you've been told you're not a candidate for Invisalign, you probably are.
I love it. Now I understand where the studio comes from. It's not from boutique, it's from the artist.
Yes.
I love it. What does the future hold for you on the practice?
So my hope is, okay, and you know, you could always hope, is that this
No
will
weak
always...
language here. So what is the future?
Yes.
Not the hope.
I know that we will have so much growth, but I'm not gonna lie. One of my fears is I don't want it to get so big that I can't manage it the way that I want to.
Yeah, excellent.
That is a big thing, because I know that we're going to get to that point.
Yeah.
Because I know that what we offer here, people want, people value, and it is going to grow. And making those decisions as you grow is going to be a big hurdle, right?
Yes.
Because we want to keep that intimate care. We want to keep the fact that you're not going to be waiting an hour. And so my team knows right now, the reason I'm so hard on everybody here, including myself, is we want to set systems in place for that growth, right? When we're running down those chairs, when you have proper systems in place, you're able to run so efficiently, but still have that time to do those things that really matter. And that's a big thing people don't understand. I mean, I've worked at other offices, I've shadowed at other places where it's like, there's so many inefficiencies that's why they have to wait an hour. And it can actually be better if you just fix those things, right? And so that's
and then also you could then replicate it.
Exactly.
In another place. So,
exactly.
Great.
And so, you know, I know that there's growth, but honestly, just that growth is something that I look forward to, I embrace, and we're prepared for. We're prepared to handle it. So, you know, call us. 305-847-4224.
I love it.
Shameless plug. And schedule. It's actually 305-84-Ricci. That's how I got that number.
Oh, nice.
But I never use it because I really wanted to be Dr. Ricci, but the DR was taken. So it's just 84-Ricci. But yeah, I mean, we know we're going, you know, our patients tell us, like, they're like, you're going places. This is special. And we just want to make sure that we stick to what our core values are during that growth, and that's what I'm gonna make sure happens, because that's why we built this. And you always have to remember where you started. So, you know, 10 years from now, we're gonna do this again, maybe 5 years from now, okay, and we're gonna watch this one back, okay, and so
amazing. I love it. By the way, full disclosure, I'm not a patient yet, but listen, if you're in here, you will feel what I'm feeling right now. I'll be a patient. My family will be patient, so I just know it. You mentioned the number, but I always like to do it. How do we find you?
Yeah, so you can find us on our website, RicciOrthodonticStudio.com.
And I will put it right here.
Yes, and then our Instagram, at RicciOrthodonticStudio. Definitely follow us on Instagram. We're pretty active there. And you can call us at 305-847-4224. You can also text that number, because, you know, I'm a text person, so I wanted to make sure that number was textable. And we're very easy to reach. You'll when you call us, you're probably going to talk to Andrea or Sally. But all of our team here, we want you to know them by name. We want you to feel at home, like family. So we look forward to hearing from you guys.
Yeah. I challenge you guys to come out here. This place is phenomenal. You're definitely phenomenal. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Really, really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Cut.
Bye.
That was amazing.
That was so fun.